AHMED KHALAF has been writing about the momentous and often violent changes Iraq has suffered for more than half a century. The Baghdad-based author, whose novels, short stories and poems have been published across the Arab world, has had to navigate censorship, political imprisonment and even death threats throughout his career. He acknowledges his contribution to Iraqi literature, but he is saddened by what he says is the lack of impact his work has had.
The country has culturally regressed. People who don't read or write might struggle to develop. Culture across the Arab world is suffering terribly, and Arab writers too. Without freedom to write, how can others learn? I feel I have little effect on people's thoughts.
The bookshops along El-Mutanabbi Street, named after a 10th century poet, have been immortalised in Iraqi and Arab culture for centuries. The crumbling Ottoman buildings have witnessed how the pressures on Iraqi writers and readers have changed over the years. The challenge of avoiding jail or worse under the rule of Saddam Hussein, to bomb attacks and kidnapping by Al-Qaeda, ISIL and various armed groups that still have much power in Iraq. El-Mutanabbi Street has almost a mythical status in the history of Arabic literature, a place where writers and intellectuals would meet to discuss politics and the arts. But despite the political instability and violence that this country continues to suffer, there is increasing evidence of young writers appearing who are determined not to self-censor and to protect and build on Iraq's literary past. BARAA al-BAYATI is a young, recently published Iraqi poet. She owns a bookshop and one of a number of recently opened publishing houses close by. She says half the books in her shop are by new, young Iraqi writers.
We're trying to wake people up from their hibernation. For too long, Iraqis have accepted what we were told. So as young writers, we try to stimulate minds without religion or focus on ethnicity. Instead, we look at a reader's humanity. We're not afraid because we have seen so much. Of course, I sometimes worry about my family, but we have to re-stimulate ideas of civilized things.
At Baghdad's annual international book fair, young people who can afford to buy books including Arabic literature, history, philosophy and translated foreign works.
It is difficult for our generation to find the correct road to walk along, so we depend on ourselves, and through books and reading, I hope we can change the next generation to plant flowers, not thorns, that we find on the path we travel along. We have to read more widely to forge a new future. Young people here definitely seem keen to read.
Hope, at least, that Iraq's literary heritage is being rekindled by a new generation, who say their country's future stability and growth will be helped by young Iraqis reading and writing more. Stratford, Al Jazeera, Baghdad.